أوكي، السلام عليكم. ما أعرف إذا أحد منكم أخذ معي دورات سابقة. هذا شارك في الدورات السابقة اللي أعطيناها بال 2024 25.
الحقيقة أنا أول مرة يعني. This is my first time.
السلام عليكم أستاذة. هذه
Me
كذلك
too.
أنا
This is the
أول
first
مرة.
time.
It's the
أوكي.
first time for me also.
أعرفكم بنفسي، يمكن في منكم ما بيعرفني. اسمي رانيا، أنا بالأصل من فلسطين، مقيمة في
أتشرف
دولة
فيك.
البيرو، ومترجمة تعاقبية، فورية، تحريرية، كل أنواع الترجمة، لي أكثر من 25 سنة في هذا المجال.
الله.
أم، هذا من أحد منكم عمل في مجال الترجمة الفورية التعاقبية في السابق؟ حدا عنده تساؤلات قبل الشروع في إعطاء المحاضرة، أو يحب يوضح أي شيء معين بهذا السياق، أو حابب يعرف يتعمق في هذا السياق نوعا ما؟ كل أذنين، ممكن تكتبوا في صندوق الدردشة أو تفتحوا الميكروفون.
أستاذة، أنا طالب ترجمة، أنا سنة أولى ماستر من الجزائر. درست الترجمة التعاقبية في السنة الثالثة
مش سامعة،
طور.
عفوا.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام أخي، الاسم الكريم.
سيد أحمد من الجزائر.
أهلا وسهلا أستاذ أحمد.
أهلا بك. أنا طالب ترجمة، ترجمة تخصص ترجمة أدبية.
أوكي.
سنة أولى ماستر. درسنا الترجمة التعاقبية في سنة ثالثة في الطور الماستر،
أمم،
ولكن يعني لمدة سنة كأنها مدة آه، غير
كافية. كافية.
كافية.
أها. تمام.
من بين الانتقادات التي وجهناها للإدارة أنها لماذا لا تبدأ ل- ل- الترجمة التعاقبية أو الفورية كذلك، يعني كتدريبات منذ السنة الأولى إلى أن تصبح يعني كمادة أساسية في السنة الثالثة.
أمم،
لأن من الناحية العقل يحتاج إلى تدريب
مستمر.
حتى
تمام.
مستمر.
نعم،
نعم.
صحيح.
فلسوء الحظ لم أكن من الطلبة النجباء في هذه المادة. آه،
لا داعي لك يعني مش دور النجيب أو الشخص النجيب، هو حب المادة بالأول له دور كبير
طيب.
في الاستمرارية فقط لا غير. للعلم أنا تخصصي كان إدارة أعمال، يعني لا
ما
علاقة
شاء
له
الله.
بالترجمة. ف آه،
سؤالي يعني.
بدايتي في الترجمة كانت عن طريق يعني صدفة، فالشغف بهذا المجال ساهم في تطوير مجال الترجمة. يعني لي 25 سنة في هذا المجال. حالفني الحظ إنه أدخل تحت التدريب على يد مؤسسة الغرفة التجارية، هم بيسموها للمترجمين. فمن هذا السياق، وهو ناتج عن الحاجة للغة العربية في أمريكا اللاتينية. فالحمد لله إنه في هذا السياق والشغف، يعني في كثير ناس أعرفهم موجودين هنا ودارسين ترجمة، متخصصين ترجمة، يقول لك أنا ما أحب الترجمة. ففي نقص مثلا عندنا في أمريكا اللاتينية، أنا متواجدة في جمهورية البرو، لكن في عندنا نقص في جمهورية البرو، فقط في اثنان ثلاثة ماكسيموم يعني متقنين للغة الإنجليزية، فقط أنا في الدولة اللي أنا فيها. في الإكوادور مثلا في اثنين، في بوليفيا واحد، في بنما واحدة، يعني في نسبة قليلة جدا للمتحدثين باللغة العربية أو من يعمل في مجال الترجمة. بالنسبة لسؤال حضرتك بخصوص الترجمة التعاقبية، الترجمة هي تدريب مستمر، خاصة الفورية أو الترجمة الشفوية بشكل عام. هي بحاجة لاستمرارية وتدريب دائم. يعني حتى أنا حتى يومي هذا أحيانا لازم أتدرب وأشتغل على نفسي في كل مرحلة، في كل جلسة ترجمة نحتاج إلى التدريب عليها. فيمكن هذا هو السبب إنه بعض الجامعات، وللأسف كمان عندي خبرة يعني إنه كثير من الجامعات خاصة في دولنا العربية، آه، بالنسبة مثلا للغات الإسبانية هي مثلا الترجمة عندها جدا ضعيفة. فهذا يعني كمان إضافي. يعني أنا لاحظت ناس دارسين في دول أجنبية وعندهم ضعف في هذا فهو يعني دور ليس فقط على الجامعة، الدور على الشخص نفسه، الاستمرارية
صحيح.
في الدراسة والتطوير نفسه. فهذا الجزء، يعني الجامعة ما راح تعطيك دورات تدريبية ومهنية. يعني أنا تدربت كثيرا، يعني فرق شاسع ما بين بداياتي في الترجمة الفورية والوقت الحالي. وأحيانا أشعر مثلا لأنه في تحديات دائمة في مجال الترجمة الفورية، سواء كانت التعاقبية أو الفورية. هلا أنا بشتغل أكثر في الفورية، ففي التحديات عندي أكثر من التعاقبية، اللي هي ممكن تعتمد أكثر إنه التدوين، أخذ الملاحظات. فحنتعرف بعض الأمور وإن شاء الله يعني من خلال التدريب. وأمر ثاني للأسف يمكن هذا كمان ما بيساهم في تطوير خاصة المترجم العربي، إنه في حساسية، إنه ما أحد بده يدرب أشخاص، يعني كأنه بدهم يسيطروا على عمل المترجم الفوري أو
صحيح.
المترجم التعاقبي. ما عندهم هدف إنه يوصلوا لك الطريقة أو الأسلوب للعمل على هذا الشيء. ففي هذه الحالة بالنسبة للمترجم العربي، وأعيد وأكرر، المترجم العربي، وهذا بناء على عدة خبرات مع يعني من خلال خبرتي الحديث مع زملاء آخرين، إنه ما في أحد مثلا يحاول يدربنا أو يعلمنا على هذا السياق. فما العمل أنا بقدم يعني مثلا تطوعيا مع الأستاذ فراس إنه
جزاك الله
نعطي
خير.
هذه الترجمة. ما أحد فينا دايم، ما حد عنده عمره معروف، فدائما لازم إنه ننقل الصوت، دائما لازم يعني نحاول نكون التوافق إنه الناس تستمر، الاستمرارية. فمن جهتي أنا متطوعة أساعد اللي حيكمل معنا إن شاء الله، لأنه أنا توقفت لفترة عن إعطاء الدروس، والأستاذ فراس بيعرف، لعدم توفر المساهمين يعني المشاركين في الدورات. فأحيانا هذا كمان يحبط الشخص إنه يستمر. أي شيء ثاني أستاذ أحمد حتى أخذه ممكن ترسلوا لي كمان، أنا راح أدرج البريد تبعي أو الواتساب تبعي في صندوق الدردشة. فبإمكانكم ترسلوا لي أي رسالة تحتاجونها للحديث فيها في يعني في سياق في المجال اللي إحنا نتحدث فيه.
بارك الله فيك، وفقك الله.
شكرا. وهذا الرقم اللي فيه واتساب أيضا، فممكن تتواصلوا فيه من خلاله أو تشيروا لأي نقاط معينة، وأنا حسب ما يسمح وقتي، لأنه في عنا فرق 8 ساعات تقريبا، أو ما بعرف كم الساعة الآن في الجزائر. ما بين البيرو والسعودية مثلا في 8 ساعات فرق.
كم الساعة عندكم الآن؟
حوالي 3 عصر العصر.
يعني 3.
8 ساعات تقديم أو 6 ساعات ممكن في الجزائر، أو 7.
لا، الآن تقريبا 9 مساء ليلا.
أوكي، فرق 7 ساعات يعني تقريبا.
6.
6 أو 7. أوكي، نعم 6 ساعات تقريبا زي
6
أوروبا.
ساعات.
مهم.
مم.
إن شاء الله. أحد تاني بحب يتحدث بنقاط معينة قبل الشروع، أو عندكم فكرة أو عملتم في مجال الترجمة؟ أخت حنان، أستاذ رعد.
للحقيقة أنا اشتغلت تحريري.
أوكي.
أما فوري ما بتجرأ ولا تعاقبي، بحس إنه استبدي وقت.
حضرتك من سوريا صح؟
من سوريا.
أهلا وسهلا.
أهلا بحضرتك.
أوكي تمام. أنا زميلتي المترجمة اللي بتشتغل معي كابل هي من سوريا كمان،
حلو حلو.
فإحنا الكابل
هلا نحن
الموجود هون الوحيدات اللي
ال-
نتحدث الترجمة الفورية والتعاقبية هون.
جيد. هلا نحن انا يعني بالنسبه لي المشكله انه ما تفرغت للترجمه وبسوريا قليل تستخدميها بالحياه اليوميه للغه، فبتصيري بتخافي.
اوكي، صحيح. هو هذا مرحلة الخوف هي إلها دور كبير. وأنا بخبرتي يعني أول مرة اضطريت أعمل ترجمة فورية كمان، يعني كان في عندي خوف أو رهبة إنه تغلطي. فمع الوقت
مهم.
يعني إنه هذا لازم نحطه على جنب، وتكون عندنا الثقة اللازمة إنه نكمل. هاي من ضمن المهارات الأساسية كمان، إنه نعمل في الشروع في الترجمة سواء التعاقبية أو الفورية.
ان
هلا
شاء
أنا
الله.
بحكي تعاقبية فورية، أوكي. رح انتقل شوي لشريحة لقدام، رح افرجيكم اياها شوي، يعني حبيتها وانا بعمل في البي بي تي حتى افرجيكم هذه الشريحة. بس دقيقة. اوكي، زي ما شايفين احنا هون في عنا زي تسلسل هرمي. اوكي، فعنا ال interpreting series، كيف بدنا نبدأ التسلسل تنوصل للproficiency، نوصل للمهنية في مجال الترجمة. اوكي، فمنلاحظ إنه عنا عدة أمور. يعني أول شيء عنا إتقان اللغة language proficiency، فلازم نكون متقنين للغة. يعني اللغة المصدر واللغة الأم، التارجت السورس language. وبعدين خننتقل طريقة البروسيسنج. بعدين عنا مهارات الترجمة. طبعا المترجم التحريري عنا مهارات عديدة ممكن نستخدمها غير التعليم. عنا كمان ممكن نستخدم الديكشنريز في عدة مهارات تختلف تماما عن مهارات المترجم الفوري أو الشفوي. خلينا نحكي مترجم شفوي ومترجم تحريري في هذه المرحلة. فالمترجم التحريري الشفوي مش مطلوب منه الدقة اللي محتاجها المترجم التحريري، لأنه أنا بدي أقرأ. فلما بدي أقرأ لازم يكون كل كلامي آه، باحترافية. فهون عندي مساحة إني أنا أدقق، أحاول أبحث عن الكلمة أو المصطلح المناسب إلى آخره. هذا مثلا للمترجم الشفوي غير متاح. المترجم الشفوي سواء التعاقبي أو الفوري، ما عندنا هذه المهلة الزمنية اللي تتيح لي إني أبحث. وأحيانا جهات أو مؤسسات رسمية ما بتسمح لي حتى أدخل مع جهازي أو مع التليفون. فما عندي مثلا القدرة إني أبحث عن مصطلح أو أخذ زي ما بيقولوا البريفليج، إنه يكون عندي هذه يعني كلمة واحدة إني أقف عليها. فهون في الترجمة الشفوية الدور بيكون أكثر على الإتقان، السرعة البديهية وغيرها من الأمور، يعني والتركيز، خاصة التركيز، لأنه التشتت لو لثانية واحدة بيضيع كثير من الأفكار. فهون عنا الفكرة الرئيسية إنه للترجمة الشفوية عنا كثير زي ما نقول عصف ذهني، أو عنا تركيز ذهني كبير، يعني يتطلب مجهود ذهني من المترجم أكثر ما هو الترجمة التحريرية. ماذا تعتمد أوكي، ممكن الاسم، لأنه ما بقدر أحدد عن طريق سامسونج اس ام. ممكن الاسم الكريم. أخ حميد من تونس، مساء الخير. أأمل إنه لهجتي تفهمها، أو بتحبوا أتحدث باللغة الفصحى أو بالإنجليزية حسب ما بتحبون. أوكي. بالنسبة للترجمة الفورية، الترجمة الفورية هي ترجمة متزامنة. يعني بنفس اللحظة اللي يتحدث فيها المتحدث أنا أكون أترجم في ذات الوقت. فإذا توقفت للحظة معينة يعني حفقد تقريبا كل الفكرة، خاصة إذا المتحدث يتحدث بسرعة رهيبة. فأحيانا نطلب من العميل إنه يزودنا بالمعلومات أو التوبكس عن الموضوع، يعني نعمل استعداد مسبق. لكن أحيانا العميل يعني يرفض إنه يزود في المعلومات أو يزودنا فيها في آخر لحظة. فهذه تعتبر كمان من إحدى التحديات اللي يواجهها المترجم الفوري أو التعاقبي. أوكي، معلش أنا مرات بحاول أشوف الشات لكن مش دائما على الشاشة عشان عدم التشتت. Your dialect is clear and understandable, but it's better to speak in English or vernacular Arabic. Thanks. Okay. تفضلون أتكلم باللغة العربية الفصحى أو بالإنجليزي؟ لأن أنا عددت الباوربوينت بالعربي في هذه الحالة.
آه، أعتقد أننا مترجمين so uh,
Okay.
whatever you speak, whatever you choose, we understand.
Okay. You said you are you are a translator, but sometimes there are some students who don't have or don't manage well the English language. So whatever you like, I'm aware of it. And if anybody doesn't understand me, I will repeat it in any language you prefer. Okay. So you prefer in English? Okay, let's go ahead. Fine for me. I'll close the chat. Okay, let's get back to the screen. Okay. So we are going to talk about consecutive interpreting. And here we can find the difference. When we talk about translation, in English, it has different definitions, translation and interpretation. So translation is a written translation, and interpretation, from its name, it's interpreting. So the idea is to reproduce the message, a verbal message, or what after hearing it and get the main idea, so we can transfer this idea to the audience. Okay, so it depends on what we are hearing. So the speaker hears the message, which resume the act of interpreting. It might be consecutive or it might be simultaneous. So when the speaker is talking, I'm receiving the message he wants to transfer to the audience. So the speaker to the audience. So when we are making consecutive interpreting, it depends mainly on how long the speaker is going to speak. So sometimes we may find a speaker who speaks very quickly and we can't get the idea. Sometimes we may face some dialectal pronunciations. I guess you have, I don't know if you have heard the Indian dialects of speaking English. So sometimes we have several challenges while making our interpretations. So when we are making consecutive interpreting, we sometimes need to take notes. And this ability of note-taking, we may develop it by learning some, for example, international note-taking signs, or maybe we can reproduce our own or main understanding. Sometimes when new translators start as interpreters, they start to write down all the idea. So it's not correct to do that because you will lose most of the main ideas. So you have to hear and write down some of the points to, like to say, to manage how to control your ideas and reproduce the message, especially when it is more than 10 minutes or more than 15 minutes. Okay, so we must have the ability to understand the idea correctly and to reproduce it so to the audience. Okay, so is it clear the idea of how we manage to do the interpreter? What's the role of an interpreter? Any questions for now before moving to the other slide?
It is so clear.
Okay, thank you. So the interpretation is divided into simultaneous and consecutive. And this might be bilateral, whispering, or chuchotage, sign language, doubling, and escorting. And nowadays we are facing a new technique, which is the remote simultaneous interpretation or remote consecutive interpretation, over the phone interpretation, or video remote interpretation. Do you understand these RSI, OPI, VRI, or have you ever worked with it? Mr. Ahmad, I guess you're the most professional on this aspect since you're doing your master. Okay. No answer from no one, so I guess you understand.
Excuse me, can you repeat the question?
Okay. Are you aware about these new techniques we are trying to use nowadays on interpretation, such RSI, OPI, VRI?
No.
Okay. The RSI, OPI, VRI are the new technologies we are using today for the interpretation services. Due to lack of interpreters maybe, or to new technologies nowadays, it's found that it's better sometimes to do the remote simultaneous interpretation, which is RSI, over the phone interpretation, OPI, and VRI, which is video remote interpretation. So this is some of the techniques in which the interpreters are working nowadays from home, and the companies are hiring a free interpreter to work with them. So they recruit the interpreters and they can connect from anywhere of the world through these techniques, which are the same as being on site, but they are remotely working. So the RSI is remote simultaneous interpretation, or RCI, remote consecutive interpretation. OPI, it's over the phone, especially for medical interpretations, and VRI, which is also used for conferences, meetings, and medical appointments. So we have remote simultaneous interpretation, over the phone interpretation, and video remote interpretation. These somehow can give more confidence for the interpreter to work without huge pressure from the audience. When you sometimes maybe you get nervous if you see so many people, and if you make any fault. So these are some of the ways that reduce the stress for an interpreter. maybe, or sometimes it's increase the stress that an interpreter may have. Any question for now? Okay. So the difference between simultaneous and consecutive interpretation is that the simultaneous, as I previously mentioned, is at the same time as the speakers start talking. So I can't stop. I must speak at the same time. So 7 seconds is a long time to stop. If I lose 7 seconds, I will lose I can't reconnect to the interpretation. So we must be concentrated when we are making simultaneous interpretation because we can't hand back to an interpretation when we lose or we stop for for just few seconds. Okay, while in the at the consecutive interpretation, we must wait till the speaker ends what he is speaking and then start to translate the main idea. We don't need to translate word by word, but to transfer the basic idea. And that's why sometimes we may use also some regular words, not professional words, because the importance here is to transmit the idea. And we can't stop to remember a special wording. We sometimes, while speaking in our own languages, we sometimes forget a certain term. So imagine if you do that with the target language or with the source language. We don't have enough time while interpreting to just search for the adequate word. And sometimes we must replace it with any word that will help us to transfer the main idea without lag. Okay, another aspect here is that at the simultaneous interpretation, we depends more on our hearing and our reproduction at the main time. While at the consecutive interpretation, we must depend a lot on our memory and note-taking. So another aspect of difference between the two kind of interpretation. So at the simultaneous interpretation, we need cabines, we need headset, and technical support, permanent technical support. That's why when we make remote simultaneous interpretation, it have mostly the same, because when you use, for example, Zoom, you have to launch an interpretation and you will have on your screen, it's some kind of the cabin. When you are at the cabin, you will find you have to switch between the keys into the target or source language. And it's the same thing, but it will appear on your own screen. But we must have another alternative, either through an iPad or another mobile, another internet connection, so to avoid any interruption of servers or something like that. While at the consecutive, we don't need any of this. Maybe sometimes they require you to have a cabin and headset, but mostly since it's in meetings or other kind of, for example, at meetings, at conferences, for example, for migration questioning or at legal courts, so you don't need special equipments. Maybe on-site interpretation, sometimes you need an equipment, for example, when there is a visit to a working site, or maybe for tourism. Sometimes you need also a headset where you can use it, but it's for few people because most of these equipments are for mostly about 20 people max, I guess, and it has to be a short distance with the audience. The simultaneous interpretation is mostly used for huge meetings, for conferences, something like that. While the consecutive interpretation is used for one-to-one or small meetings. Is it clear for now? Do anyone have any comments, any question before passing to the other slide?
May I ask?
Yeah, sure.
So the differences between consecutive and simultaneously translation or interpretation is just like how big the meeting is, or how the numbers of person attending the meeting.
No, it depends on our yeah, sometimes it's that, but mostly as I don't know who's owner mobile. Embassies and political events may require both, just to reply the comment on the chat. For example, I do work for several agencies, and sometimes they need the consecutive meeting. Sometimes they require the consecutive interpretation, and sometimes they require the simultaneous interpretation. For example, I do work for Care International. I wonder if you know about it. It's an NGO, international NGO, as well as the IOM, International Migration Organization, IMO. Here it's OEM in Spanish, or it's so. For the IOM, we used to translate as the UNRWA as well when we used to manage some migration issues or maybe interrogations or something like that, or a small meeting or bilateral meetings, even for we do use the consecutive. It depends on the client and sometimes on the amount of people. You can maybe, for example, if you have 100 people or more and it's just one speaker who want to transmit this idea, for example, when they are giving a lesson or training on something or on the use uh, of an equipment or something like that. So we use the consecutive interpretation, or the client may suggest the consecutive interpretation for most of these cases. While, for example, in an international conference, for example, like at the UN, most of the UN meetings, they do use the simultaneous interpretation. So I wonder if you get the idea of where to use each one or when mostly is used. It depends on the client. But normally on international conferences, political conferences, diplomatic, or maybe just informative or courses, they need the simultaneous interpretation, inclusively during their meetings or training courses. So they can't stop to translate for each one, and they use the simultaneous interpretation. So is it clear now, Mr. Ahmed?
Yeah.
So it depends mostly on the client and the requirement of the client.
Mm-hmm.
So we can decide which one is mostly used, but normally when sometimes they ask for consecutive, even if it's a huge meeting, but mostly on the biggest meetings or conferences, it's simultaneous.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure. Your name?
Okay. Ibtisam,
Oh, hi, Pisam. Yes, go ahead, please.
um, while explaining, you use the word interpretation.
Yeah,
So, interpretation for me means so you understand and then you translate. So,
ex-
the simultaneous translation or the consecutive translation, both of them depend on how do I understand the meaning and then translate it, or I'll depend only on literal translation because one of the differences between the two translations is one, the first, the simultaneous translation depends on uh, speaking at the same time or translating at the same time of the speaker, but the consecutive translation depends on when the speaker stops talking and then you interpret or you translate. So if we say translation here, we can depend on literal translation, but if we say interpreting, or it depends on do we understand, shall we understand first the meaning and then translate it, or just translate the words as they are?
yeah,
How
okay.
can you advise us?
Okay, thank you, Pisam, for your question. It's a
Thank you.
great one, and I would like, beside of answering your question, I would like to share an experience because I have a group of interpreters. We work together, and sometimes we exchange our experiences, especially after each interpretation session. As well as you said, in Arabic, we both use the same word, ترجمة. It's ترجمة تحريرية, ترجمة شفوية, فورية, تعاقبية. So in Arabic, we use the same word, ترجمة. Nevertheless, in English, we use interpretation. So the correct word is interpretation. We don't have to be literal translating word by word. So you're correct that the consecutive, we can get the idea and we can then translate it. And this is what we are trying to make at the simultaneous interpretation as well. That's why when we see the pyramid we saw before, the simultaneous interpretation comes after, because if you can't make the consecutive interpretation, you will never be able to make the simultaneous interpretation. And many persons can't dare to do the simultaneous interpretation because it's not easy. And you have to work a lot on yourself to be a simultaneous interpreter. So one of the basic things are many of the skills that we have to acquire as consecutive or as simultaneous interpretation. And as I said before, it's a pyramid. So the consecutive interpretation, then you pass to the proficiency of being simultaneous interpreter. So you must be a professional consecutive interpreter to be able to do the simultaneous interpretation later. And it has several steps to go. I didn't became a simultaneous interpreter quickly. I passed more than 12 or 13 years practicing and working on myself to be a simultaneous interpreter. And I'm still working on myself on it. So even I have more than 25 years of experience, I'm still working on myself daily. I'm taking notes of the things I think I must work on more. But it's, as I said at the beginning to Mr. Ahmed, it's constantly. We have to practice and keep practicing and train ourselves. And each time we have any work, it's also a challenge. So how we can make it, we have to prepare ourselves for previously. That's why we must ask the client to provide us with some topics or maybe the material to prepare ourselves for simultaneous interpretation. That's why when you are making simultaneous interpretation, what you are doing is you have already have any idea prior to your session. So you know the topic, what they are going to talk about. You maybe can investigate more about it or just take notes about this event, or maybe make your own glossary about some wording that may be used during it. So you train yourself prior to any interpretation session. While mainly in the consecutive interpretation, you don't need to, for me, you have to prepare yourself always. They give you the material or not, you have to prepare yourself previously. For example, you have a consecutive meeting contracted by X company. So I must try to figure out this company dedicated to, so I may know, for example, it's dedicated to mining or it's a financial institute. So somehow I can have an idea of the topics they are going to talk about. Or maybe investigate the speaker. For example, if it's an international company and this person is not the first time that he gives this lecture or something like that, maybe I can search about him, a resume about this person, or maybe I can find any video material where I can see how he speaks. I can diagnostic his maybe thinkings. There are many skills that I can acquire during the process to be a consecutive or a professional consecutive or or simultaneous interpreter. So I hope I answered your question, Ibtisam, and if you have any other question, I'm ready to answer it. And if any other person who's joining us have any question as well.
Yes,
Mr.
I'm Yasser.
Yasser, I guess you wanted to talk or to
Yes,
say something?
if we discovered that we had made a mistake, especially during simultaneous translation, how can we correct to be suitable for the context of the subject?
Well,
To
it's a
correct the
difficult answer to do because sometimes you have the ability to say, I'm sorry, I have this. For example, if the speaker stops and you say, sorry, I've missed the interpreter is apologizing for a misunderstanding, but I don't think you have enough time for this. So you just have to continue, and because stopping it will ruin everything. You can't stop. Just to avoid it while continue your interpretation. And
but if
don't
it
get
is
nervous, and you must not get nervous, because this will not allow you to continue make a correct interpretation.
if the idiom or term is important for the meaning of the subject, when it comes another time, I correct and explain what is a correct idea or correct point.
Yes,
Maybe I can.
yes, but you can stop at the same time. You cannot stop. Maybe if you have enough time to say, I'm sorry, I misunderstand and repeat the correct wording, it's okay. But sometimes you don't have enough time to do that, so you can avoid it while continuing your interpretation. And never
Okay.
stop, because if you stop, you will lose all the interpretation. You can't leave spaces between the interpretation.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay.
Hi, Miss.
Hi, Hi, Zahra. How are you?
Thank you for this lecture. I just want to ask you about how to train myself on consecutive translation or interpretation, sorry, because I'm a graduate of University of Education and I don't have that enough training on this interpretation. And recently I been practice consecutive translation, but I find it really difficult for me because every time I wanted to take notes or I really forget or don't get what the speaker is saying. You know what? Or if I don't take the notes, I really just gonna forget the first thing he said. So I really find it difficult to memorizing all the things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, Zahra, I repeat it again. It's most important to find out what are the points. You have to note down. This is a good point that you find out some of the difficulties you are facing. So you must start working on these difficulties. For example, training memory. There are many methods that will help you train your capacity or your memory about note taking, and you must keep practicing. This is the only way. This is the only way you have to practice. By the way, we will have the chance to practice if you continue taking the classes with me. And I will also provide you with some groups. Unfortunately, they are not training on Arabic interpretation. I have, there are many groups of interpreters that are joined to practice the interpretation between colleagues internationally. But till now, there is no one who practice Arabic English interpretation. It's mostly with any other languages, English, French, Spanish, and many others, but not Arabic. So hopefully we can make some kind of practicing club later if you want to join. We'll try to find a way. But I said if you manage to speak more than any other language, you can practice with these groups of interpreters that sometimes they join upon their. Okay, that's nice, Mr. Ahmad. Okay, about audiovisual translation. It's not our topics here, but it's mostly the same. It demands more practicing because it demands translation first of the text or videos, and then you reproduce them. So it's not just only audiovisual translation. It's somehow more complicated. Or I don't know who's owner, so hopefully you get the answer. Okay. Thank you, Zahra. I guess you started with me before. I guess you joined my previous sessions.
I I have a question.
Yeah.
How many thanks for you to join me and your Zoom and role participating. I'm just uh, I'm glad to share with you and listening for you. That's my pleasure. My question for like a big meeting, how many interpreters should be share in that meeting? Depends about the people who share over there or the clients who ask you for you to come in. If it's like a two, how do they do their rules? in one cabinet, if there is cabinet or like in front of the like audience or someone who asks for interpreters. Another question. Do I have like a learn more
Sorry, I
than another
didn't get the
language?
sorry, I didn't get the answer as well, your questions, because my sound
Oh,
wasn't okay.
yes, I will do it again.
Yeah,
Whatever
okay,
you want. Sorry
okay.
for that.
Yeah,
My question, how many interpreters should be like share in one big meeting? And what their rules in that meeting? Do they like do the same time in one time or just one translated, another waiting for another one? He will be like tired or make a mistake and help him to correct them, or both of them like translated in one time. This is
okay,
the first one.
okay.
Another question is be if I want like to be like a good interpreters should be to learn another language or just in one or two languages. Thanks for your answer.
Okay. No, I understand well his questions, and hopefully all of you will be benefit. As for your first question, okay, mostly it's about two interpreters per language, for example. And it depends on the client and the languages which are used. For a complete journey of 8 hours, mostly there are two interpreters per cabin per language. For example, English to Arabic, Arabic to English, for example, Spanish to Arabic, Arabic to Spanish, for example, French to Arabic, Arabic to French, German to Arabic, Arabic to German. It's the same booth. So both interpreters must know how to work together. So that's why they prefer if you have a partner. So the client asks you, for example, I have now two suggestions, one for Peru for next month and the other for September in Argentine. One of them is English to Arabic and the other one is Spanish to Arabic. So they ask me for a partner. And for example, remotely, I have several partners with whom I used to work. So I don't have any
السلام
difficulties to
عليكم
work
ورحمة الله
with.
وبركاته.
السلام عليكم دكتور فراس.
أنا كلش أعتذر على التأخير، اليوم النت عندي مشكلة به.
لا ما في مشكلة، إن شاء الله خير.
سجلت الدرس إن شاء الله، سجلت الدرس؟
مسجل الدرس إن شاء الله خير، بس
خلاص
عشان ما
تمام.
نقطع الفكرة وبعد إذنك. Okay, so for this, as I tell you, it depends on the client and how many languages he would like to contract with the company, with interpretation or translation company, or with individuals as well as freelancers. And both interpreters in one cabin, sometimes they have to manage how to work together. So it's important that they do know each other, because sometimes, for example, my partner, as I said before, I know how she works. For example, she can provide me with some wording if I get stuck with certain terms. So she may help me, or maybe she can search for it and pass me a paper with a certain word. So the role here is to work together as a team. The same as the other interpreters. So they can work at the same times. It's not at these big meetings that they have to speak in French and Spanish, etc. So as an expertise interpreter, I used to work with several languages. For example, last year we worked for the IPU. And there were new interpreters who came with their delegates, for example, from a Persian and Russian. They weren't from this country, and have three other cabins where I was at the Arabic cabin, and there was Spanish and French. So all the team works together. So it depends on you, and you have to be aware that your colleagues also depends on you. For example, Arabic is not a common language here. So if the person is speaking in Arabic and I can't transfer well the information into English or Spanish, my colleagues can't proceed to continue the interpretation in their own languages. So sometimes you are the main person on whom all depends for their translation. So that's why it's most important to be professional on this aspect. I hope this answers your first question. Please advise if it's okay or something is missing, please. Okay, so about the second, your second question about to be a good interpreter, do I have to dedicate to one language or more than one language? Well, it's important to
Yes, that's
to do the interpretation in the language you choose. For example, English to Arabic, it's fine, but sometimes being aware of more languages, it's a plus. For example, and this is one of my experiences, and that's why I'm going to share it with you. For example, when you are making the interpretation, for example, I will talk now about Arabic, English, and Spanish, for example. If I'm going to get the interpretation from Spanish and the Spanish interpreter didn't get well the idea or make because sometimes when the people are for example are speaking quickly or I missed an idea, sometimes you need to go to another booth or make or get the interpretation from other language. For example, if you don't domain French and the speaker, when it's an international meeting or it's a big meeting, that's why they use several translators or interpreters, because so as to make the interpretation from the speaker, and you can continue with the interpretation in the same synchronized in the same booth you have. For example, you are assigned to English into Arabic and the person speaks Spanish, so you have to translate from Spanish, and thus, for example, you have to go to the French booth or to the Spanish booth so as to continue the interpretation between English and Arabic. So if the interpreter makes any mistake while you are making your own interpretation, you will commit the same error the interpreter made. So you will make the same error and not translating accordingly, because you are depending on the interpreter and if he make the interpretation correctly or not. So if you domain more languages, it will be a plus for you. So you don't need sometimes to go to, for example, I don't need to go to the Spanish booth because I manage the Spanish and I can make the interpretation directly and not exchange to the English booth to hear the translation from the Spanish to English in order to translate it to Arabic. I hope you get the idea. How to deal with a message in English, interpreters into Arabic. There is no equivalent in terms of tenses. Okay, yeah, it's a big snack. I know for Arabic it's mostly difficult because sometimes you need to hear to the end to understand the exact wording. And this is what happened to me last week in an interpretation session where the lady who was speaking in Arabic started talking quickly, and I couldn't follow her that quickly, so I apologized and we comment with my colleagues about it. So my colleague and boss in this aspect told me, I've learned from another colleague that told me whenever the speaker is going more quickly, try to go more slowly and get the idea and start transmitting, to translate it or make the interpretation a little bit slower, but transmitting the correct idea, even if you have to speak after this person stopped speaking. So this is the tip my colleague gave to me, and I'm transmitting it to you as well. So I hope any more question or everything is clear till now. Okay, thank you. ¿Ya terminaste? No. Cuando termines, puedo ir a la casa de Dios.
هسه ان شاء الله خلص الدرس يعني
لا
استاذه.
لا سوري. ما
استاذه
في.
رانيا لا تخليه طويل، لا تخليه طويل اكثر من ساعه، ساعه وربع.
اوكي ان شاء الله خير، بنكمل الاسبوع القادم، لكن بنكمل هنا بس بعض الامور، لانه ما شاء الله اليوم كان في اسئله كثير.
ما شاء الله، اهم شيء.
Okay, so let's continue. How we can work. This interpretation of a consecutive interpretation is divided into 2 steps. So we have to hear and take notes. Sometimes we don't have even a paper to take notes, so it depends most on our memory and concentration to capture the ideas, numbers, special terms. Then we have to transfer all what we heard and communicate the whole idea once we end, once the speaker ends his speech. So one thing more about this, we have to try to talk to our client or to the speaker prior to the consecutive or the simultaneous interpretation. This is one of the roles we mostly insist to speak in a considered path of speech, so we can follow and make a correct and accurate interpretation services. So this is one of the other tips I can give you, so you can try to use with some of your clients once you practice. When we use the consecutive interpretation, mostly, as I said, during some of commercial meetings, some of press meetings, investigations with migration, some migration issues, police investigations at the courts, and sometimes for educational conferences. Even though sometimes during educational or training conferences, they prefer simultaneous interpretation first and then consecutive interpretation for the Q&A, question and answer sessions. Okay. We'll stop here, as Mr. Firas said, so I'm open to any question and answers now, and we'll continue with our presentation next week, hopefully. So,
May I ask?
yes.
Okay, when you take notes, what are the most important words you focus on?
It depends on you. It depends on the interpreter himself.
Really? Okay.
Well, you have to concentrate. We are going to talk about it. We will have sessions about note-taking, but mostly it depends on you. You have to develop your own note-taking skill. What you find out that you need. For example, I mostly take notes, for example, names, dates, special important issues, so I can make my own brain map on how to reproduce the ideas. So it mostly depends on you and how you can get the captions and how you can reproduce these captions or these ideas of note-taking. But sometimes, mostly of the times, you have to, for example, dates, numbers, locate names of persons or organizations, or maybe something like that. It's the most important sometimes because you have to forget it. You forgot these data or numbers or amounts or something like that. And anyone else have any question?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I can't understand exactly what you mean with ignore the form in consecutive translation. What do you mean about ignore the form? Samsung, you write down in the chat. I couldn't get exactly what you're meaning about ignore the form in consecutive in translated. Well, we have to concentrate in both consecutive and simultaneous interpretation on the idea and how to deliver this idea correctly. Honor, you can open the mic or drop your question in the chat box. I guess Honor.
Should I ask?
Yes, sure.
Okay. In case while we are translating in some different contexts or cases, sometimes there are some challenges, especially in the terms of vocabulary and grammar form. So, how we can achieve a great achievement while we translate and avoid these obstacles?
Well, keep, for example, we have to keep investing in yourself, training yourself. For example, reading or prepare yourself previously for the session. For example, if you know what it is about or where it will take place, so you can prepare yourself on what, as I said previously, on what vocabulary may I face this? For example, in any investigation, what's the case about, for example? So I can make my own glossary about the terms and just read them during my a break time or while I'm going to the location or something like that. So you are reading and training your brain, training your memory, and reading more. You will have several options to improve your vocabulary and grammar form. I know sometimes in Arabic, for example, we have male and female structures, while in English or any other language, they just have a uniform structure for he or she. So it's just training. The interpretation is mostly training yourself all the time, all the time. It's always challenging. And never say, I'm professional. Never. This is the only way you can get to be better always.
Well, yeah, that's clear. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And any other one who would like?
Miss, can I ask you?
Yes, sure.
Is interpretation is always presential or sometimes can be online?
Yeah, that's
Because
it.
I've never tried translation.
I guess you get later because yes, as I said, we have nowadays we have the remote simultaneous interpretation over the phone interpretation and video interpretation. So yes, nowadays we do have interpretation
online
over the phone and through Zoom. There is many application as WebEx, WEBX, I work with this with Google Teams and with Zoom. These are the three forms I'm using to work with as simultaneous interpreter. Over the phone is somehow they call you in a determined date or timing, and it's over the phone, as it says. So you communicate through the phone with for example, with the doctor and the patient, between them.
Okay.
So the doctor talks to you and tell you 1, 2, 3, and then you take the phone to tell it to the patient. You're in the same call, so it's the secretary or whoever will pass the telephone between the doctor and the patient, so you can give it to them. And the other one is a video call, and this is a video call where you are between the doctor or the client and the patient, or whoever is.
Okay, it's like a call center, yes.
Yeah. So nowadays we
Okay.
have this this ability for simultaneous remotely working as interpreters.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm.
Okay. Any other question?
Yes. Okay, we are in the في عصر ال AI.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is there any AI tools they are like
Yes, they are using
they
some IA.
exist?
Yeah, they use IA tools. You can know, for example, now you are at Zoom and there is AI companion.
Okay.
Sometimes they use this facility to make the interpretation, but sometimes it's not accurately because the AI is mostly translating literally, word by word, so it can't get the whole idea as we'd like to. And for Arabic especially, it's not that advanced, we can say, about it for any interpretation or translation even.
Okay.
It helps, okay, but it can't be that accurate. So it won't replace the interpreter. As I told you, I work, for example, for Care International, and for sometimes due to the lack of financing, they stopped contracting us for about 4 months or about 5 months, and then they found out that the AI, the artificial intelligence is not that intelligent to say.
Okay.
So we are keeping to make the translations and interpretation for their most important meeting still. And they find
Okay.
out that reviewing the translation or the editing is taking more time than to make it with professional interpreters and translators.
Thank
So
you very much.
it may help, but it's not replacing us yet.
Hopefully not.
I doubt about it. It's not that intelligent, and it can't handle what a human being can handle mentally. You know, any machine, you charge it a lot and it collapses. So even if a person is always as well may collapse, but it can manage how to. A person can feel when he needs to have a rest, while a machine no.
Okay. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair.
Okay. Anyone else?
Can I ask another question, if
See?
you don't mind?
Yes, sure.
My question about the interpreting. It is like an art. You can do or use your style when you're speaking or when you translate it or interpreting, something like that. Give me like from your experience if you have. You
What
will maybe
what
do
can I
your
do?
style. I mean,
What can I do while interpreting? I didn't hear well because I guess you have, I don't know if it's a noise of somebody next to you or the TV. Can
Yes.
you?
Now,
Okay.
my question here is like, is this interpreters like an art? It is an art or your style you do like an actors in front of your audience. You will get your style, something like that.
Yes. Somehow.
Did you get my question? Is it like an art interpreting?
Can you please write it down because I hope I guess what you mean, but I didn't get your idea well, sorry.
I think he means interpreting is it like an art that you can use your
Yeah,
style maybe in
it's an
talking,
art. It's
maybe.
an art. It's an art, and you have to develop many abilities. For example, yeah, it's an art. For example, as I told you before, with my actual colleague here in this country, for example, she can't, if you talk to her or if I write down any idea for her, she get dispersed and can't concentrate. So she lose concentration rapidly, quickly. So I try not to bother her, or sometimes I even move out from the cabin to leave her make the interpretation clearly. For example. Nevertheless, I have the ability to make several things at the same time. I can be concentrated, I can write down, I can search for something because during the training on myself, I have the ability to separate, for example, what I hear, what I speak, what I write down, what I see. So it's an art, and it's something I have developed many abilities, while some people have limited abilities. Maybe you can't concentrate if somebody talk next to you. For me, I don't care. I'm accustomed if somebody came here or talk to me or pass me any paper, I don't care. I can still go ahead with my interpretation. Or sometimes maybe I have my laptop, especially when I'm making remote simultaneous interpretation. And if I get stuck, I'm already having a page where I can consult for a wording. So some people don't have these abilities and can distract quickly and lose their concentration. So it's some kind of an art. So it depends on the person, on its abilities, and on the acquired abilities you may teach yourself. Hope I answered your question, and thank you, Mr. Ahmad, for your clarification.
Welcome. I think it's like a chief
Nada,
in
do you want to
the
speak
kitchen.
anything? You want to say anything? Okay, again, I thank you all for your participation. Hope to see you next session. Very much appreciated, and I hope you have the opportunities. This is a space open to all of you where we can share anything you have doubt about it, and we can get to train between us as colleagues. Not only I'm going to share my expertise with you, and hopefully you can take advantage of. We can exchange experiences. This is enrich our way into professionalism. So thank you all, and looking forward to have our next session next week. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
Good night
much
for
for
you.
support.
Very much.
Thank you for it.
Thank you.
Again, I write down my phone number. You can have it also at the group of interpretation. You can get back to me whenever you'd like. As well, I'm going to share this. Session with all of you. And whatever you'd like to talk about, you can write me so we can discuss it in our next session. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you as well. Thank you. Nada, I guess you were trying to say something. Sorry if I didn't hear it. ندى
Yes.
كنت حتحكي شيء أو تحبي تحكي شيء؟ شايفة الميكروفون مفتوح بس ما كنت سامعة.
I have the honor to join this meeting. I was invited by Dr. Firas today, and I'm really surprised to find this high level of professionality in this meeting and the way you are delivering your information for us and sharing that your experience with us. And
Thank you.
thank you very much for everything. I came to the session lately, so I was just a listener. But hopefully in the future I will participate.
Thank you, Nada. Thank you. Thank you all
Thank
for
you
your
very
participation, and I'm glad to hear that from you and all our colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just, Ms. Rania, are you going to share the, Ms. Rania, do you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay, are you going to share the meeting
Yeah, I'm
on
going
the
to
group
put,
of...
yes, I'm going to download this session on YouTube on my channel so I can share it with you as previously done. And after we finish the PPT I have been presenting, I will share it as well with you. So don't worry. It seems it's your first time. I used to give classes before with Polyglot about in
Yes.
2024, 2025, and all the sessions are recorded. So I will share it as well if you'd like.
Is
Inshallah.
it only on YouTube?
Sorry, Nada, I didn't hear you well.
Okay, is it only on YouTube or on Telegram?
No, we don't have a Telegram channel, but maybe we can make one because I had previously one for Spanish training because I used also to give Spanish classes previously. So if you are interested, we can also arrange with Mr. Firas to dictate Spanish classes as well.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, I will end this session if nobody else have any question. Thank you and good night to everyone.
Good night.